Fantasy is one of my favorite genres, but when I first started getting into it, it was really hard because I was picking the wrong books. Today, guys, I will be showing you the best beginner-friendly books for the fantasy genre. If you're interested in reading fantasy and you are just intimidated by some of the big books that are out there, I'll be recommending you beginner-friendly books today. So let's get started. I'm going to start with some more well-known books at the beginning, and then as the video goes on, I'll go to the more like my personal picks and everything. So let's start the video off. We are going to talk about Mistborn, which I'm sure everybody on BookTube has heard about. Brandon Sanderson has heard about Mistborn, has been recommended to everybody, but I mean, it's like that for a reason. Now, it's not my favorite book in the world, but like I said, it is easily recommendable for a beginner reader because it is very digestible. His writing style is very good for beginners. It's not super flowery, it's just straight to the point. And it's an interesting story. I've only read book one. I didn't finish the series. That's not a knock on the book, that's a knock on me because I'm bad at finishing things. But it's about, I guess I'll just read the synopsis and I'll let you guys talk about it. Once, a hero rose to save the world. He failed. For 1,000 years since, the world has been a wasteland of ash and mist, ruled by the immortal emperor known as the Lord Ruler. Every revolt has failed miserably. Yet somehow, hope survives. Hope that dares to dream of ending the empire and defeating the Lord Ruler. A new kind of uprising is being planned, one that depends on the cunning of a brilliant mastermind and the determination of an unlikely heroine, a teenage street urchin named Ben. Where a hero rose to save the world and failed, can a young hero succeed? So in this world, the bad guy has won, and he is currently ruling the world, so that's a unique take in its own. They don't talk about it in the synopsis, but I'll talk about it because it's just a big part of the book, and it's at the beginning. But the main magic system in this series is metallurgy, so they consume metals to get powers, and different types of metals give you different types of powers. So yeah, guys, that's Mistborn. So that's the first book I recommend. Pretty digestible. It's a 3-book, it's a trilogy, but it might seem like it's scary, but it's really not, guys. I suggest that. The next book I'm talking about is The Hobbit. I mean, everyone probably recommends this, and the reason why I'm choosing The Hobbit over choosing something like Lord of the Rings is because you can read this without having to read the other ones, and it was written for children at first, so it's more digestible. It's written almost like in a fairy tale way or like a storytelling way, like the story is being read to you in the words, which is kind of interesting. It's a story about Bilbo Baggins being recruited by Gandalf and some dwarves and some other people to go on this adventure to find the One Ring, and not to find the One Ring, actually. It's to kill Smaug, I believe, and he just ends up finding the One Ring along the way. But yeah, and which is the ring that's in the book, or in the Lord of the Rings series, sorry. But yeah, this Hobbit, I'll read the synopsis for you guys. Bilbo Baggins is a hobbit who enjoys a comfortable, unambitious life, rarely traveling any farther than his pantry or cellar, but his contentment is disturbed when the wizard Gandalf and a company of dwarves arrive on his doorstep one day to whisk him away on an adventure. They have launched a plot to raid the treasure hoard guarded by Smaug the Magnificent, a large and very dangerous dragon. Bilbo reluctantly joins their quest, unaware that on his journey to the Lonely Mountain, he will encounter both a magic ring and a frightening creature known as Gollum. Yeah, so pretty easy book to read, very short, very fast-paced, time skipped a lot. So yeah, I recommend this one, guys. The other well-known, well, I guess a lot of these would be well-known, but the other well-known book I'm going to recommend is George R. R. Martin's The Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. Now, the reason why I'm recommending this over Game of Thrones is for obvious reasons. Game of Thrones is a very intimidating series and a book, and there's 5 of them. It's not finished. It's one of the biggest fantasy series, popular fantasy series written. But this one is, it's 3 different novellas. So they're actually shorter and they're easy to read, and I feel like it's very digestible, and you get the story of Dunk and Egg. So you get that really good budding relationship between the 2 of them, and you get to see their journey along the way. I love this. It's now a show on HBO, so if maybe you don't want to read the book but you're interested in the story, go watch the show on HBO for season 1. But I can read the synopsis for you guys and let you know. Taking place nearly a century before the events of A Game of Thrones, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms compiles the first 3 official prequel novellas to George R. R. Martin's ongoing masterwork, A Song of Ice and Fire. These never-before collected adventures recount an age where the Targaryen line still holds the Iron Throne, and the memory of the last dragon has not yet passed from living consciousness. Before Tyrion Lannister and Patrick Payne, there was Duncan Egg, a young, naive, but ultimately courageous hedge knight. Sir Duncan the Tall towers above his rivals in stature, if not experience. Tagging along is his diminutive squire, a boy called Egg, whose true name is hidden from all he and Duncan encounter. The more improbable heroes may not be fallen in all of Westeros, Great destinies lay ahead for these two, as do powerful foes, royal intrigue, and outrageous exploits. Yeah, Knight of Seven Kingdoms with George R. R. Martin, pretty easy read, very fun read, 3 different novellas throughout 3 different periods of their life. Check it out, guys. All right, the next book, and I will say this is probably the book that got me into fantasy to start with, and it's Percy Jackson and Olympians. Now, if you're an older person, this might be hard as your first fantasy book to read just because it's a kid's book, but I still recommend even giving it a shot because it's the perfect blend of just action-packed fantasy, Greek mythology, which I know a lot of people love, and I mean, obviously, name recognition, like Percy Jackson, there's movies, there's TV show, everyone loves Percy Jackson. There's not much more I can say about this. I'm not going to read the synopsis because it's pretty, I mean, Percy Jackson is a demigod. He finds out, goes to Camp Half-Blood, a bunch of other demigods, and he goes on a quest for Zeus to find his lightning bolt in the first book. And it's a series of 5 books. They're all really short. I recommend reading them all. And there's other series, spin-offs of this same, and sequel series of this whole universe. There's a whole real universe, I call it. It's just all the Percy Jackson books and sequel series and spin-offs. Egyptian gods, Norse mythology, and more Greek books. So yeah, if there's any mythology, fantasy books you guys want to read, Percy Jackson's right here. I know it's more kids-oriented, but it's very good to get into at the start of your fantasy journey. All right, the next book is a personal favorite of mine, Kings of the Wild by Nicholas Ames. It is a fantasy book with a bunch of music references, getting the boys back together, kind of like a farewell tour about a group of people, like a group of soldiers basically that are going on this journey and this quest. And it has a second book called Bloody Rose. There's supposed to be a 3rd book out, but I believe the author's having trouble writing it or just taking his time, but I'm very excited for that book. But this is a very funny book. It has a lot of good humor. The characters are lovable, good action. If you like D&D, you will especially love this. There's a lot of D&D themes and references in there, like gnolls, I believe, are in this book, which are like the hyena type creatures. We have Kings of the Wild, Nicholas Ames. I recommend it very much, especially if you like music. I believe this one's more like rock, like kind of rock like based, not like, I want to say based on music, I just mean like the themes of it, like the themes of like old school rock. And then the sequel is more like themes about like grunge and punk, which is very cool. You have her, one of the main character's daughters is actually the main character of the next book. And I actually really like the next book as well. So if you do end up reading this one, read the next one. But I'll read the synopsis for this one since it's not a very well-known book. Glory never gets old. Clay Cooper and his band were the once best of the best, the most feared and renowned crew of mercenaries this side of the Heartwild. Their glory days long past, the mercs have grown apart and grown old, fat, drunk, or a combination of the 3. Then an ex-bandmate turns up at Clay's door with a plea for help, the kind of mission that only the very brave or the very stupid would sign up for. It's time to get the band back together. So yeah, that's the vibes that you're getting here. It's getting the band back together, kind of like a lot of bands are doing currently that are doing tours again, that are old bands because recession, money, whatever you need. I mean, there's always a way to get people back together, and it's like getting the friend group back together. So yeah, if you enjoy a friend group getting back together to go on this journey, a lot of heartbreak, a lot of funniness, a lot of love, I recommend this a lot, actually. All right, guys, the next book I'm recommending is The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I would describe this as a cozy fantasy book. It also has a gay main character, so if that's something that you care about, this is one of those recommendations for that, because it's a very heartwarming, heartfelt story. If you like X-Men or Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, that type of mentor looking over group of kids that have powers or everything, this is like that same kind of vibe. He is a worker for this organization that goes and takes care of kids that have certain powers and everything like that. And I believe Lucifer is even one of the characters as a kid, which is kind of cool. But I'll read the synopsis and you guys can tell me what you think about it. Linus Baker is about the book caseworker in the department in charge of natural youth. At 40, he lives in a tiny house with a devious cat and his old records for company, but his quiet life is about to change. Linus is summoned by extremely upper management and given a curious and highly classified assignment: travel to an orphanage on a distant island and determine whether 6 dangerous magical children are so dangerous, in fact, that they're likely to bring about the end of days. When Linus arrives at the strangest of islands, he is greeted by a series of mysterious figures, the greatest mystery of which is Arthur Parnassus, the master of the orphanage. As Linus and Arthur grow closer, Linus discovers the Master would do anything to keep the children safe, even if it means the world has to burn, or worse, his secret comes to light. The House in the Cerulean Sea is an enchanting love story masterfully told about the profound experience of discovering an unlucky family in an unexpected place and realizing that family is yours. So yeah, it also has found family, so that's a trope that you like. Definitely check this out. I believe there's a sequel now. There wasn't when I read this book, and there hasn't been for a while until recently. So I haven't read that one yet. I'm not sure if it's good, but this one is for sure good. It can be read as a standalone. I'm pretty sure that's what it was meant to be at first. And TJ Klune, I just love his covers and his art style. Not a fan of this like 90% cover. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, check this out, guys. If you like cozy fantasy, kids with powers, gay love stories, yeah, check it out, guys. All right, guys, the final book I will be recommending is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Now, I know it's less fantasy, more sci-fi dystopian, but at the same time, I cannot talk about books to recommend for beginners and not mention this. Scythe, when I read it at first, it's a trilogy. I read it, and then I read the next two books immediately after because of how interested and much I love this series. It is about basically what if AI figured everything out, so people don't starve anymore, people don't go, like, they just don't die from illness, they don't grow old, they don't, like, everything is figured out from this AI called the Thunderhead. But the problem is population control. So they created this thing called the Size that you kill, or in the book they call it gleaning, but there's a quota that the Size have to meet every year to glean the population and keep the population control under. And this quota is based on like statistics before the AI existed. So like basically if 20% of the people that die in a year are people over the age of 60, then 20% of the people that are gleaned in this new world have to be over the age of 60. Like there's like rules and regulations to this. And obviously this will lead to a corrupt government and those kinds of storylines and everything. So it's a very cool book, very interesting. It goes in places I've never would have thought it would have went in. Crazy ending to the book, good twists and turns, good main characters. I recommend it. I read you guys the synopsis to see what you think and let me know. Thou shalt kill. A world with no hunger, no disease, no war, no misery. Humanity has conquered all those things and has even conquered death. Now Size are the only ones who can end life, and they are commanded to do so in order to keep the size of the population under control. Citra and Rowan are chosen to apprentice to a Scythe, a role that neither wants. These teens must master the art of taking life, knowing that consequence of failure could mean losing their own. They learn living in a perfect world comes only with a heavy price. So yeah, it's really interesting concept, which is, when I read this, like maybe 6 years ago, AI wasn't as big as it is now, but now with how AI is, like I can see like, it's crazy correlation. Like this book, I feel like will continue to be relevant forever with how the world is going and how AI is advancing and everything. So it's definitely a good time to read this right now because you get that those themes you will see in here will probably be relevant to your life and to these days in here. Guys, that was the fantasy books that I recommend for beginner readers. Now I'm sure there are other books that are probably just as good, and there might be books that some people might deem as not as beginner friendly, but you enjoy it. It just all depends on who you are as a reader. So yeah, I know fantasy can be intimidating sometimes, but it's really not all that bad. You just gotta open the book and read it. I know the books have a lot of words and pages sometimes, but as long as you just keep reading and taking it word by word, it will feel like it'll go by so fast. And there's so many great books and series out there. As you see, my bookshelf is mostly fantasy, a little bit of dystopian and sci-fi, but mostly fantasy because, I mean, it's just like incredible genre, and you can be so unique and so, you can just see the ideas and worlds that people build, and that's my favorite part about it, is the world building. That's why A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones is one of my favorite, just because basically George R. R. Martin created a whole separate world with countries, governments, everything in his head and put it on paper. That's crazy to me, and that's why I love fantasy. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to support me, just like, comment, subscribe, share, do whatever you need to do to support me. I love doing this so much for you guys, and I enjoy the support that you guys are giving me. If you have any beginner-friendly book recommendations for fantasy readers, drop it in the comments down below so I can know and that other people can know, because I want this channel and this community to be a helpful and engaging community. I want everyone to not judge each other. I want everyone to get along and recommend. I basically want to create a space where people can talk about books they read and books they want to read without being judged or anything like that, because that's kind of what I like to do and want to do here. I love talking about things with other people. That's kind of like my main motivation in life, is being able to enjoy something with somebody else, whether that's reading, whether that's skating, gaming, literally anything, going to the movies. That's my favorite thing about living. So yeah, guys, check it out. Next video, I am talking about some of the books I want to read in 2026 that I'm excited for. Not necessarily books that come out in 2026, just ones that I want to read this year. So yeah, guys, I'll get out.